And welcome back to 5150 Adventures, where today I'm waiting on Steve to get out of the gas station, and we're going to go to the yard, get the old cam out, put the new cam in, and get the bottom end completely ready so that when my head gaskets and head studs come in, we can get the top end put back together. Alright, so me and Steve are here. We got the lifter soaking. We got everything else piled up right here. We're going to work on trying to get the harmonic balancer off and then get the timing cover off so that we can then get the cam pulled. One thing, while we wait for him to get over here from doing the little parts run for the harmonic balancer pulley, is I got a Brian Tooley race cam. This is their twin turbo cam, and right here is the numbers of everything. It's a twin turbo stage 3 226 24x 5 or 618 5 or 618 115 lobe separation angle. So we will, here's all the specs on it right here. We will be installing this thing in here once we get this pulled off, the timing cover off, and all the rods and mains done while we're here. But this should give me a major improvement over what I was running last year, which was stock everything with nitrous. This is going to allow me to break stuff, I have a feeling. But with that, we're going to do our best to be real conservative with this for the first race, because I'm going to go into my first race with no test passes on the track. So I'm going to only have street stuff done, you know, a little street tuning per se. So we'll see how this goes. But yeah, that's all the information on this cam, and I will update you as we go to put it in. All right, we got the harmonic balancer off, we got the timing cover off, we got the gear off, we got the oil pump off. Next is to pull the cam. After I pull the cam retainer plate, I'm going to have Steven video as I do this. So when you pull the cam retainer plate, you're not going to reuse this one, because they do wear out. And they do bend and everything like that. So it's better not to reuse them. If you go to Michigan Motorsports and you buy the Brian Tooley cam kits, normally they come with a new timing cover gasket and the gasket for your cam retainer, which I will show you what that looks like in just one second here. Is there one more? Two more. The reason why you can't reuse these ones is because there is a silicone gasket sealing surface that is machined into these, and if that plate does bend, or that silicone piece does fall off or wear out or whatever, it'll actually cause an internal oil leak and could cause you not to have proper lubrication to your top end. So right here is what your cam plate looks like, and if you look right here, this orange piece, that is the sealing surface that will sometimes leak, and definitely don't want that to be a problem. Now to pull the cam, it's going to be just, ooh, shoot, we got a problem. It feels like. Yep, right there it is. We had a bolt fall in. Yep, see, there it goes. I was hoping that it wasn't a bearing that had pulled out, but you just Very gently, just pull your old camshaft out. Try not to nick the bearings as you come out as much as you can help it. And that right there is a stock camshaft with roughly 300 plus thousand miles on it. It actually looks pretty good. The bearing surfaces look really good. There's now, I'm not seeing any flat lifter lobes. I mean, nothing I could catch with my finger. So now that this is out, I'm going to wash my hands. I'm going to use assembly lube to lube up the new camshaft, and then I'm going to reverse this process, and I'll have Steven follow me along as I do that here in just one moment. Plastic, it's going to look real nice and shiny. Number one thing you do is you grab your cleaner, you get it all cleaned off. That way you can get all the stuff they use to ship it cleaned off of it. Take your rag, kind of wipe every little section off so that you don't get any dirt contaminants on it. Make sure she's cleaned up pretty good. Now, the way these cams are, this is your front. You could tell that because it has your pin for your timing gear and this ledge right here and 3 bolt holes. Now, on the rear, it'll have all your specs written on it that you need to know, or your engine builder or your tuner. And this is a twin turbo stage 3 226 24X 618 618 115. We know this matches the card that came with it. You want to keep the cam card so that if anything happens, you have something to reference it by and be able to go, oh, this is what I need. Or, hey, I need this replaced. Or if your tuner goes, hey, I need to know what your cam specs are, you have them readily available. What I'm going to be using is moly or engine assembly lube that has moly and graphite in it. This is just what our local parts store had. I normally like to use a red assembly lube, but we could not find that around here. So you're going to have to cut open the top of the assembly lube so that you can get it out. Maybe. There we go. And just make sure it's cleaned out. Push a little bit out. Now, don't mind the floors. My floors are already dirty. I got to clean them eventually. But what you're going to want to do is, since we already know this is the back, and you don't want to get your hands all gooped up and dirty completely, so at least one hand not. What I would do is I would smear it on here like so. Use your one hand that you know is going to get dirty because you're going to have it halfway through there. Just lube it up really good. I keep this one undone so that I could work into it. And then you get to your halfway point. That allows you to be able to use your clean hand, grab your assembly lube, go across everything. And don't be afraid to use the assembly lube. It is not expensive. So you don't have to worry about it being wasteful. It's better to have an engine that is lubed properly than an engine that is not lubed properly. That'll cause you more problems having things not lubed properly than anything. Then with your clean hand, you put your bolt on the back of it. You slowly slide it in, and then here goes your hard one right here. Whoop. And then you pull your bolt out. Alrighty, so how you're gonna notice that your cam and your crank are in time is you'll see this little dimple there that needs to be facing up, and then on your gear here, no, it's this way. You'll see that little divot right there. That needs to be facing down towards the towards your little nipple point right there. So that's how you could tell that they're in time. Once you have that lined out, then what you can do is put your gear on and your timing chain. We're going to get the cam retaining thrust plate right now, but once we get that, we'll put that on. Then we're going to turn the engine over, because with it turned over, I'm going to do the rods and main bearings, and I want that thrust plate in there so as that we do not have the cam work its way out for any whatsoever reason. So right here is our Malclevite Performance main bearings and Clevite Performance rod bearings for 5.3. We got these at O'Reilly's just because it's what we could get readily available. Your part number is going to be a Charlie 663 HNC or a 91271. These are standard sized. So this is your cam retaining plate, and what you could see is you can kind of see it there. This size, it's kind of, the orange is raised. But this side, it is definitely not. So we got the new bolts. Steven has the other one. He's going to go look for the right size torque bit right there. And I'm going to get this on there, sort of. I'm going to not torque it, but these bolts should be around 11 foot-pounds of torque. I wouldn't go any more than that for these bolts. Everything I've read and heard, these plates can crack or warp if you go any tighter than that. So now that we got the cam retainer plate in, Steven's going to turn this motor over. As you can tell, it's in 11 foot-pounds on each of those bolts. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do rod bearings and main bearings. Now for your main bearings, it's 5 caps with, it's a 4-bolt main system on the inside, and then you have 1 bolt that comes through the side of the block to also help it. And then, man, everything looks pretty darn good. So here's your journal, and it looks pretty clean. But if you look at this bearing, there is absolutely no wear. I'm actually stoked that this thing's not wearing too bad for what it is. I mean, yes, these are only been 1 season on here, but I was really concerned with how high it was revving it out. But I think she's going to be okay. So we're going to take these ones out and replace them with new bearings. And Stevens went over to my truck because I forgot to grab it, but I got gloves. I don't want to touch these new bearings with your fingers. The acids in your fingers can cause them to corrode or have premature failure. So I'm going to wear gloves while I take these apart, put it back together, and we'll go from there. what we did was, instead of torquing them as we went, we got all the bearings changed. We did them snug tight with just the small, the 3/8 drive ratchet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to 15 foot-pounds, and then I'm going to do all the rods, bolts again. Then I'll go to 52 foot-pounds, and then go through them all again. That way I could, the first stage I can make sure it stays free. Second stage I can make sure it stays free. That way if there's any problems, I know which rod we have a problem on. Okay, pause it. Alrighty, so we torqued 15 from foot-pounds, front to rear on all of them, and spinning it as we do it. Then we did 52 from rear to front on each of them, to make sure they were good to go. And Steven's turning it now. How good does it feel, Steven?
Very, very smooth.
Very smooth?
Feels good, man.
Okay.
Feel good.
All right, so it is getting kind of dark, but we're going to try to push on another hour maybe. We're going to get all the main caps done now. With that, we're going to be doing, we're going to take them all out, lift it up a little bit, slide the top main out, slide a new one in on each one of them, and then put the top ones on and go from there. So we are really pleased with the first season on these bearings. As you could tell, there's very little markings on there. I didn't know with the nitrous and how many hot passes I was done, how they were going to act.
What brand are they?
These are just your cheapo. These weren't even. Oh wait, no, these were King, but they were not race bearings. They were just regular King bearings, is what these ones were. Yeah. Had to remember there for a second because the 350 that I did had just cheapos in it, but this one now has Cleveite race bearings. The Cleveite race bearings, as you saw, those were in, these ones that I just showed you were kind of like a grayish silver color. The Cleveite race bearings have a nice coating all the way around them, and they've got a black, kind of a black coating on them. So we'll really be able to see if there's any scarring or anything on them next. So as of right now, Steven is going through and loosening up all the center caps, and then he'll do all the side ones through here, 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 and down here. Well, we're running out of daylight. Don't have no power in here right now. I haven't got that done yet. Supposed to have that done this winter, but it's been too hectic. So we got all the main bolts out. They're all looking good. Except for caps out. They're all looking good. This one, we got to loosen the back cover so that we can get it out and go from there. Everything seems to be looking good. The main caps have a little bit more wear, which is a little expected, but that's fine because we're putting new ones in it. So with that, we'll be back tomorrow to continuing on. Alrighty, so I got the hard part of the main bearings done. I lifted with the rods and piston still in. I lifted this up, blocked it up, pushed each one out, including the new thrust, or the old thrust bearing. Got everything new in here. Now, this is the top or the bottom of the last one, but they all look to have very little wear, and they all look pretty good, I'd say. So now, what I want to do is I'm going to replace all of the bearings in here with the leftover ones in my package. Now, the rod bearings had a little black tint to them. These ones have like a darker gray tint. But either way, they are a performance bearing. I'm going to take my time, put them all together, and then get everything put back in the engine. And then I will torque everything down. But I am back here this morning getting it going. And I did end up taking the whole back cover off so that I could access the last main bearing. All right, as you saw right there, I got all of the main bolts in, including the side ones. Now, I only snugged these with the ratchet. I made sure that they all got down where they needed to be and seated, but I did not use an excessive amount of pressure. I just went until just barely turn it, barely turn it, barely turn it, and then it stops, and then go to the next one. The end ones here, I got them in there, but I won't tighten those down at all until I get these done. Now, the best way to do these is start in the center and then work your way out. So I'll do this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then that one, and then this one. And then I'll come over here and do the same thing. It'll go here to here, here to here, boom, boom. And then I'll come over here and it'll do the same thing. I'll go here to here, here to here, here to here, and then continue that all the way through until I get them all tightened up. Once they're all tightened up, then everything that I want to get on the bottom end is done for that point. Then I'll turn the motor over and I will time the camshaft and the crank all together. That way everything's in time and ready. Then I could put the front timing cover back on. I could put the harmonic balancer back on, the back cover back on, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to put you guys back on a time lapse so we can continue going on torquing the main caps. So what I did there was I torqued everything 15, 15, 15, 15 all the way around, and then I did 80 degrees, 80 degrees, 50 degrees, 50 degrees, everything all the way around. Now what I'll do is I'll go through and I will get all my outside ones torqued down to the proper spec. All right, well, I was on the phone for a minute there, but while I was on the phone, I torqued down all the outside ones to 18 foot-pounds. I'm going to double check that that's the only torque spec for them. I feel that's kind of light. So I'm going to double check my chart really quick, and then if there's a second sequence, I'll do a second sequence. Yeah, so I looked at my chart, and everything for the outside should only be 18 foot-pounds. So I did that. I also kind of scraped the surface. I'm going to go get some emery cloth and clean that up the rest of the way so that I could get the windage tray back on and the pickup tube back on. And then I'm going to close up the bottom side so that I could get the back cover and the front cover both on and where they need to be 100%. So that that is done. I will have to take the pan off again at a later date. Not a big deal because I have to put the drain bungs for my turbos in it, which again, not a big deal. I'm not going to be able to probably put those in until I get the truck running, driving, and over to James's so that it can, so we can do all the welding. But until we get to that point, I'm going to keep pushing on this thing and get as far as I can. So I'll update you as I go along. All right, so I got my cam gear on, and as you can tell, right, maybe if it'll zoom right, okay, right there. The dimple from this one is right here. This one's right there. We're lying straight up and down. We are at top dead center on this cylinder. So this should be good. I'm going to torque down my timing gear or sprocket, whatever you want to call it, so that I can then make sure that this is good to go. The other thing I'm going to do is make sure these are torqued down properly, and then once that's done, I'll turn it back over. So that I can make sure all my bolts are on my windows tray and everything, get my oil pan on, turn it back over, mount my timing cover on the front and my back timing cover on the back, get them mounted and torqued down so that the bottom end is sealed. And then I will be covering the cylinders up, because then I'll be waiting on head gaskets and head studs. I ordered P1 manufacturing head studs through Brian Tooley Racing, and then head gaskets are 7-layer 5.3 LS7 style head gaskets through Brian Tooley Racing as well. All right, so yesterday we cleaned all the lifters and let them soak overnight in some oil. And now we're going to put them in the trays, put them inside the lifter bores, and then torque down the trays and everything. Once that is completed, then I will cover up each side with tape or some sort of material so that we don't get anything in there, so that once the head gaskets and the head studs come in, we can bolt it in and go straight from there. So one thing I will do is I'll clean up the head gasket surface, but aside from that, we'll be pretty well going together with her. One thing that would be good for you guys to do in practice is get your harmonic balancer on before you tighten your timing cover, so that you know it's where it needs to be: up, down, front, back. Well, not front, back, but up, down, and side to side. That puts it about perfect where it needs to be. So I got the harmonic balancer on there. And then the other thing is my 0 mark is like right here. Can't really see it on here, but what I'll end up doing is putting a tab on there so that I can check my timing as well. So I'm going to tighten up the front cover bolts now. I did have a new gasket that came in with all the Michigan Motorsports stuff. Not a big deal to install. You just make sure it's on a clean surface. So I'm gonna get that tightened down and torqued and go from there. Alrighty guys, well, where we're at now is we have the whole front structure on. I was wanting to do this so I could kind of see if I would be able to put my turbo return lines in here. I'm not thinking that's going to be possible, so it's going to have to go in the oil pan. But with that being said, I'm going to clean up the deck surfaces, like I said, and mask them off so nothing can get into here or here. But this is where we're at and what we're doing now at this point. The only last thing I have to do is valve springs, which I need to get the tool, which I think I know where I got mine at, I think, but no guarantee. So I got to do my valve spring tools, get my valve spring tool, collapse the valve springs, put the new valve springs in. Now, I haven't shown these yet. I haven't even looked at these yet, to be honest with you. These are supposed to be 660 valve springs. And we'll take a look right now if I could do all this one-handed like I'm doing. So I got my locator stuff. I got my retainers. Valve seals is what it looks like. Yeah, valve seals. Locks. And dual valve springs. Now, see what the warning says. When installing this spring kit, be sure to use provided components. Do not use the stock components. Damage may occur. Okay, well, we'll make sure we follow that because we got all the new stocks or all new equipment. There's no need to buy anything or use the old stuff at all. I don't see why anybody would do that, but whatever. But yeah, no, old and new, there's those. So I will go find that tool tomorrow, or if we work. If not, then it'll be a couple weekends. But cam installed, lifters installed, rod and main bearings installed, front and rear covers installed, oil pan installed, and all the accessories are installed. So I think we're at a good stopping point for today. You guys do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button, hit that bell, share this like crazy, because that helps me be able to bring you more content. Gives me the drive to give you guys more content. So we will see you next time. That completes this part of the build. Next time you see this, we'll be probably putting valve springs in, head gaskets, head studs, and going together with her.